Imagine a life where stress, anxiety, and frustration melt away, not because the world has suddenly become perfect, but because you've learned how to manage it differently. A life where you can face the greatest challenges with calm, even joy. This is not a fantasy, it's a reality Marcus Aurelius lived and what you can learn today. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you the core teachings of Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, that will fundamentally shift the way you approach life. These ideas have the power to change your perspective forever if you absorb them fully. By the end of this video, you will understand how to free yourself from worrying about the future, obsessing over the past, and being overwhelmed by the present. You'll walk away with tools to lead a more meaningful, tranquil life, no matter your circumstances. So, stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to learn is not just philosophical wisdom, but practical advice you can start applying immediately. If you're ready to change your life completely, let's dive into the teachings of Stoicism through the words of Marcus Aurelius. 1. Acceptance of fate. Amor Fati. Embracing what is. How often do you find yourself resisting what happens in life? Do you get frustrated when things don't go your way? You're not alone. Most people spend their lives fighting reality, wishing things were different, hoping for outcomes that are beyond their control. But what if, instead of resisting, you could learn to embrace whatever happens as part of a grand design? This is the essence of Amor Fati, the Stoic principle of loving one's fate. Marcus Aurelius believed that everything we experience, both the good and the bad, is a part of nature's plan. Instead of cursing fate or wishing things were different, he advises us to love everything that happens. The Stoic approach isn't about passive resignation, but about active acceptance. When you can say yes to life, exactly as it is, you release yourself from the chains of disappointment and frustration. Ask yourself, how many times have you suffered not because of what actually happened, but because you wanted something else to happen? This is where most of our pain comes from, not from the events themselves, but from our resistance to them. Stoicism teaches us that we don't control external events, only our reactions to them. So why fight against what is already unfolding? Amor Fati is a mindset that, when practiced, allows you to face any challenge with strength. Instead of saying, "Why me?" you start to say, "Why not me?" Every obstacle becomes an opportunity for growth. Every hardship is a chance to cultivate virtues like patience, courage, and wisdom. Marcus Aurelius asks us, could you say that something is a misfortune if it doesn't contradict human nature? Or do you think that something that happens according to the will of nature can violate it? Reflect on that. He's reminding us that nothing that happens in life is truly bad if it doesn't prevent us from acting with justice, humility, self-control, and kindness. The only thing that can harm us is how we choose to respond. By embracing fate, you not only endure challenges, you thrive in them. You accept that everything, from success to suffering, is part of the natural order, and you learn to love it all. This is how you cultivate resilience, a key quality in Stoicism, and one that will help you handle whatever life throws your way. When you live with Amor Fati, you stop resisting and start living fully. As you begin to apply this principle, think about how your life might change if you stopped viewing events as problems, but as parts of a greater whole designed for your growth. With Amor Fati, you find peace, no matter what the world throws at you. Now that we've explored the power of loving your fate, let's move on to a key Stoic principle that teaches us how to navigate life's uncontrollable events with clarity. 2. Distinction between what is in our control and what is not, the key to peace. What is within your control? It's a simple question, but when you truly understand it, the way you live your life changes completely. One of the most important lessons in Stoicism, taught by both Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, is the distinction between what is in our control and what is not. If you can learn to focus only on what you can control and let go of everything else, you can free yourself from unnecessary suffering. Let's start with this. Can you control the weather? Can you control other people's actions or opinions? Can you control the future? The answer is no. Yet how much of your time and energy is spent worrying about these things that are completely outside your influence? This is where so much of our anxiety and frustration stems from. We want to control what cannot be controlled, and in doing so, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Stoicism teaches us that the only things we truly control are our own thoughts, actions, and responses. Everything else, the opinions of others, external events, outcomes, even the future, is beyond our control. When you grasp this distinction, you gain a tremendous amount of clarity and peace. You stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable, and you start focusing on what you can influence: your mindset, your actions, your virtues. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Ask yourself, how often do you give away your peace of mind by worrying about things that don't depend on you? How often do you let the actions of others dictate your happiness? The Stoic answer is clear. Focus on what you can control and let go of the rest. This doesn't mean withdrawing from the world or becoming indifferent to everything that happens. On the contrary, Stoicism is about engaging fully with life, but from a place of inner control. You may not control external events, but you control how you respond to them. And in that response lies your freedom. You can always choose to act with wisdom, justice, self-control, and courage, no matter what happens around you. Let me ask you this. If you stopped trying to control what you can't and started focusing only on what you can, how much more peaceful would your life be? Imagine freeing yourself from the endless cycle of worry and frustration that comes from trying to change things outside your influence. By accepting the Stoic distinction between what is in your control and what is not, you gain the ability to respond to life's challenges with grace and resilience. In fact, this principle applies perfectly to the next topic we'll explore: why worrying about the future is a waste of energy. But before we move on, reflect for a moment on your own life. What are the things you've been trying to control that you know you cannot? And how can you shift your focus toward what you can control, starting today? 3. Worrying about the future, a waste of energy. Do you often find yourself consumed by thoughts of the future, imagining worst-case scenarios, or hoping things will turn out exactly as you want them to? You're not alone. Many people spend so much time worrying about the future that they forget to live in the present. But here's the truth. The future doesn't exist outside of your mind. You can't control it, and you can't predict it. So why worry about it? Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He wrote, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." In other words, if you can handle what's happening right now, you'll be able to handle whatever the future brings. Why waste energy imagining all the things that could go wrong when you could be using that energy to focus on what's happening right in front of you? Think about it. How many hours have you spent worrying about future events that never actually happened? How much of your life has been drained by anxiety about things that, in the end, were completely out of your control? This is the trap of the human mind. Our imagination runs wild, creating problems that don't exist, and in doing so, we make ourselves suffer. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, famously said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The future only has the power to hurt us if we allow it to. By constantly worrying about what might happen, we let the future dictate our present, filling our minds with fear and anxiety. But the reality is, when the future arrives, it's never exactly as we imagined it. Sometimes it's better, sometimes worse. But we always face it in the present, armed with the same reasoning and virtues that we have today. Now I want to ask you this. What would your life look like if you stopped worrying about the future? How much more time and energy would you have to devote to the things that truly matter? If you can trust that you'll be able to handle whatever the future brings, just as you handle the present, you free yourself from the chains of anxiety. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that it's not the future itself that hurts us, it's how we think about it. So, instead of letting your imagination create suffering, focus on the present moment, where you have control. The future will come, and when it does, you will meet it with the same wisdom you apply to your life today. If this resonates with you, stay with me until the end of this video, because what we're discussing here is life-changing. The more you practice these Stoic principles, the more you'll find yourself living in the present, free from the burdens of future worries. 4. The past is irrelevant to the present. Letting go. How many times have you replayed past events in your mind, wishing you could change them? How often do you find yourself trapped in regret, thinking about what you should have done differently? The past, like the future, is beyond our control, yet we often let it dominate our present. But Marcus Aurelius teaches us that the past is gone, and it has no power over us unless we allow it to. He wrote, "Remember that man lives only in the present, in this fleeting instant. All the rest of his life is either past and gone, or not yet revealed." The past is nothing more than a memory, and our memories are often unreliable. We think we remember events clearly, but our recollections are shaped by our emotions and biases. The reality is, what's done is done, and no amount of thinking about it will change that. So, why do we let the past control us? Why do we allow it to steal our peace in the present? Stoicism teaches us that we cannot work with the past because it's beyond our grasp. What matters is how we respond to it. Instead of dwelling on what could have been, we should focus on how we react to past events in the present. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the only thing we can control is our current attitude toward what has already happened. Think about this. How often have you wished you could go back and do something differently? Maybe you regret a conversation, a decision, or a missed opportunity. But wishing for the impossible only creates more suffering. Instead, Stoicism encourages us to view the past as indifferent. It cannot be changed, and therefore it should not weigh heavily on our minds. Marcus Aurelius asks, does the past prevent you from acting with justice, self-control, or kindness in the present? Number. It is only your attachment to the past that creates pain. By letting go of that attachment, you free yourself to live fully in the moment, responding to life as it is, not as it was. Now, reflect on your own life. What are the past events that you've been holding on to? How much energy have you wasted wishing things were different? And how can you start letting go, accepting that the past is beyond your control? When you embrace this Stoic mindset, you stop living in the shadow of what has already happened and start engaging with the present moment. 5. Living in alignment with nature, flowing with life's course. Imagine life as a river, ever flowing, ever changing. Some days the water runs smoothly, other days it's turbulent and rough. Now, think about your approach to this river. Do you resist the current, trying to swim upstream, or do you allow yourself to flow with it, navigating its natural course? This metaphor captures one of the most fundamental teachings in Stoicism, living in alignment with nature. Marcus Aurelius, as a dedicated Stoic, understood that nature is a guiding force, one that governs all things. He saw life's events as part of the natural order and believed that resisting this flow leads to suffering. But how often do we resist the natural course of life? When things don't go the way we planned, when we face obstacles, we often feel frustrated, angry, or disappointed. But Stoicism teaches us that the world will unfold as it will, and our job is not to fight against it, but to align ourselves with it. He wrote, "Nature has no evils," implying that everything happens for a reason and is part of the natural process. It's not the external events themselves that disturb us, but our judgment of them. So, what if you started to view life not as something to conquer or control, but as something to align yourself with? Here's a question for you. Do you find yourself resisting life's challenges, wishing things were different? How often do you become upset because the world doesn't match your expectations? When you resist nature, you resist reality itself. Marcus Aurelius believed that to fight against the natural order is to invite suffering. Instead, he urged us to understand that the universe is unfolding exactly as it should, and our task is to accept it with grace. Stoicism teaches that we should learn from nature, using its wisdom to guide our actions. Just as a tree bends with the wind to avoid breaking, we too should adapt to life's challenges. Life is full of unexpected events, from minor inconveniences to major tragedies. But by aligning with nature, we stop viewing these events as problems and start seeing them as opportunities to practice virtue, patience, resilience, wisdom, and courage. Take a moment to reflect. What if you accepted life's challenges as part of the natural flow rather than obstacles to overcome? How might that change the way you respond to difficulties? If you approach life with the understanding that everything, even hardship, is part of a greater natural order, you'll find that your frustration diminishes. You become more resilient, able to weather any storm, because you're no longer resisting the current. If this idea resonates with you, I encourage you to leave a comment below, sharing how you plan to start aligning with nature. How might you shift your perspective when faced with challenges? Remember, Stoicism isn't just a philosophy, it's a practical guide to living, one that can help you navigate life's unpredictability with greater ease. Now, let's move on to another powerful Stoic principle that will help you stay grounded: understanding the present moment. 6. The present moment, all we truly have. How often do you find yourself distracted by thoughts of the past or worries about the future? For many of us, the present moment is something we rarely experience fully. Yet, as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, man lives only in the present, in this fleeting instant. All the rest of his life is either past and gone, or not yet revealed. This simple truth, central to Stoicism, has profound implications for how we live our lives. The present moment is all we truly have. The past is gone, unchangeable, and the future is uncertain. But how much time do we spend obsessing over these things beyond our reach? We replay past events in our minds, wishing we had acted differently. Or we project ourselves into the future, worrying about things that may never come to pass. In doing so, we rob ourselves of the only thing we can influence, the present. Let me ask you this: what are you missing in your life right now because you're too focused on what's already happened or what might happen? How much of your happiness is being sacrificed because your mind is stuck in a time that's either gone or yet to come? Stoicism teaches us to bring our attention back to the present moment, to fully engage with what's right in front of us. Marcus Aurelius believed that when we truly embrace the present, we stop suffering. It's not the weight of the future or the pain of the past that harms us. It's our refusal to live in the now. He wrote, It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. When we spend our lives trapped in the past or the future, we forget to live in the present, the only place where life actually occurs. Stoicism offers a simple yet profound solution. Practice mindfulness. By bringing our awareness to the present moment, we free ourselves from the burdens of what we cannot control. Each moment is an opportunity to act with virtue, to practice patience, wisdom, and kindness. The past is gone, the future is out of our hands, but right now, in this moment, we have the power to choose how we respond to life. Imagine how different your life could be if you lived fully in the present. What if you approached each day with a clear mind, free from the regrets of the past or the anxieties of the future? Stoicism invites you to practice this awareness, to anchor yourself in the now. The present moment is fleeting, but it's where life happens. Don't let it slip away unnoticed. Let's move forward and explore how the Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, teach us to interact with the challenges life throws at us by distinguishing between real misfortune and our perception of it. 7. The illusion of control, letting go to find peace. How often do you try to control things beyond your influence? Do you find yourself stressed, frustrated, or anxious because life isn't unfolding the way you want? This is one of the greatest illusions we face, the belief that we can control more than we actually can. But Stoicism, through the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, reminds us that much of life is outside our control, and the more we cling to the illusion of control, the more we suffer. We've all been there, trying to control the outcome of a situation, manipulating events to fit our desires, only to realize that our efforts are futile. Life doesn't bend to our will, and the harder we try to force it, the more disappointed we become. Marcus Aurelius offers a simple but profound truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about it. How much of your stress comes from trying to control things that are completely beyond your reach? Whether it's the actions of others, the unfolding of events, or even the weather, we spend so much time and energy on things we cannot influence. But Stoicism teaches us that peace comes from letting go of this illusion and focusing instead on what we can control, our own thoughts, actions, and responses. Ask yourself, how often do you give away your peace of mind because of things you cannot control? Stoicism teaches that true freedom lies not in controlling external events, but in mastering your own mind. You can't control what happens around you, but you can always choose how you respond, and in that choice lies your power. Marcus Aurelius asks us to recognize the limits of our influence. He reminds us that many of the things we concern ourselves with are beyond our control. So why waste energy on them? Instead, focus on what you can control, your virtues, your thoughts, your reactions. By letting go of the illusion of control, you gain peace. Reflect on this. How would your life change if you stopped trying to control what you can't and focused only on what you can? The Stoic path is one of acceptance, accepting the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. This shift in perspective allows you to find tranquility no matter what life throws your way. You've journeyed through the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and the core principles of Stoicism. Amor Fati, the distinction between what is within our control and what is not, letting go of the past and future, aligning with nature, and living fully in the present. These are not just philosophical ideas. They are practical tools you can use every day to lead a more tranquil, fulfilled life. Now it's your turn. How will you apply these teachings to your own life? Leave a comment below sharing which principle resonates most with you. If you found value in this video, please like and subscribe. Share this with others who might benefit from the wisdom of Stoicism. Together, we can build a community that thrives on inner peace and resilience. Thank you for watching, and may you find the strength to live fully in the present, embracing life as it is with Stoic grace.